Well, hello, and once again, welcome to the Far From Normal radio show. I am your host, Jay Moss, and in the background here, it looks like we've got Mr. Bud Vino. Bud, how are you doing this evening?
Yo, and yo, my brother from another mother, Jay Money Moss. It is April 17th, 2018. Boy, oh boy. First of all, Jay, I'd be remiss. Got a little noise in the, oh, there it goes. It looks like we got a little noise in the background, Jay.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that it was Friday the 13th this past Friday. Here, there we go. That's a little better. That's a little bit better. Thank you, Jay, for taking
No problem.
It was Friday the 13th this past Friday, so we'll give a shout out. We've done a lot of shows where we've had, especially the last Halloween show, give a shout out to Deb Voorhees and Larry Zerner of Friday the 13th 5 and 3 respectively. And so to our horror fans out there, gives us an excuse. It did on Friday, Jay. I know for me to watch a horror movie, I have an excuse for it not seem like too much of a weirdo. So happy Friday the 13th.
You need an excuse to watch a horror movie, right?
Right. But it makes me seem a little more, well, normal if I want to be that, right? Again, happy Tuesday, brother. Happy 17th from Florida. As always, gets better and better. Our sister from another mister, Jesse Weider. How are you, Jess?
Hey, guys.
Hey. So are you ready for tonight? Because I think it's going to be an amazing show. I just think that we have some amazing guests here with us tonight, and I think it's going to do a lot of benefit for a lot of the people out there who are listening to our program each and every week, to kind of get it from two of the advocates who have done it the most amazing in informing people, working directly with, in many times with Dr. Childress and many others, to get out the listing on being a parental alienation advocate. And so we have Laurie Nicholson with us and Wendy Perry with us as well. And I think we want to welcome both of you ladies in.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely our appreciation. I'm sure my co-hosts would like to thank you as well for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies, thank you. You guys do a lot within the movement and a lot of selfless work, and very excited to have you on and discuss the work you're doing and the progress. So as Jay said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to also say that I know that, Laurie, I've seen a lot of your stuff out there. I'm very respectful of the fact that you are at a lot of events, Wendy as well, at a lot of different events here, not only for parental alienation, but, for active co-parenting and all of the issues with CPS and everything else that we all deal with within this movement. I think it's very crucial that we're all out there supporting each other. With your aspect directly, though, I wanted to get into the fact of what is parental alienation, and is it being now recognized by the psychological board out there?
Wendy?
Well, I get asked this question all the time to explain what parental alienation is. And I think the simplest explanation is to say that parental alienation is when one parent tries to damage or destroy the relationship that a child has with the other parent. That's the easiest way to explain it to people. And usually when you say that, they go, aha, now I know what you're talking about. And then they usually say, that happened to me, or that happened to one of my friends, or to someone else in my family. When you start to talk about it, you find that nearly everyone you meet knows of someone who has been through parental alienation. As far as psychologists and counselors, therapists, we've made a lot of progress in that. More and more of them are getting educated about it, but we've got a long way to go. But as you probably know, that is specifically Dr. Childress's mission, is to educate those mental health professionals. So he's done a lot of hard work on that. He's super committed to it. So we're making progress on that. We have a long way to go, like I said, but I really, really am excited and proud of all of the hard work that we've done over the last few years. So, and there's a lot more great things in the work. He actually has coming up very soon in Houston, Texas. He's going to have a special training to train more mental health professionals about parental alienation.
That's great. That's outstanding. The other thing that I know that Laurie, you and I discussed is now parental alienation is actually within the DSM-5 manual. And it's not listed necessarily as parental alienation, but it is listed as some other things. If you could elaborate on that, that would be great.
It's listed as child psychological abuse, so it's V995.51. This is definitely goes right along with what parental alienation is all about, and I'm sure Wendy agrees with me. So we're really making a push. I know in our state here, we're trying to make some attention with our state legislators to include this in our child abuse law reform, to include this diagnosis code as a form of child abuse, which it is, but also enabling the word parental alienation or pathogenic. See, that's the problem I find, Wendy. There's so many different definitions, but it's pretty much all the same.
There are a lot of different definitions, and as far as the DSM-5, I mean, there are several codes actually that could apply to parental alienation, adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct. There's child affected by parental relationship distress. So there are several codes that would apply to the dynamics of parental alienation. I think one of the things we get caught up in debating is the words parental alienation not being in the DSM. And I think we need, that's why the education that Dr. Childress is doing is so important, because he makes it clear, these are the diagnosis codes, and it is in there. So.
Exactly. And I think that's some of the biggest aspects that we deal with as people that are just general pro se or pro per litigants that walk into a courtroom. We start touting the issue of parental alienation. Hey, I'm being alienated as a parent. And whenever you do that, of course, you're going to bring up the terms of Richard Gardner and everything that is entailed with that. And of course, they're going to come to you and they're going to say this is junk science, is their terminology. How do you combat that if you are an attorney that's representing someone, or if you are a pro se litigant, when you bring up a term or parental alienation or narcissistic personality disorder, whatever it may be, pathogenic parenting or whatever it may be, whatever that term might be that you bring up in court, how do you maybe defend yourself on that topic when you're a pro se litigant, or you have an attorney who doesn't quite know everything when it's involved in these things?
Right. Well, I'm not an attorney, so
Right.
You asked me about attorneys, so I have to give my little disclaimer. This is not legal advice.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that my husband and I are making a documentary about parental alienation, and we've interviewed several attorneys. And one of the attorneys that we interviewed, he does a great job for many families that I know. And I thought what he does when he goes to court is very, very smart. He actually takes Dr. Richard Warshak's book, Divorce Poison, to court with him, and he marks the parts in the book that show the behaviors of the child. And he doesn't really have to say the words parental alienation. He shows the behaviors of the child, showing those attachment disorders, the anxiety that the child feels when they have to communicate with the targeted parent. So I thought that was very smart on his part, and he seems to have a lot of success with that. So we're really looking forward to sharing, especially that part of the documentary that we're doing, because it was really, really very interesting. And he said he's had very good results with that. And I know he has, because a lot of his families come to our support group meetings.
Right. So what you're basically saying is we'll give a good plug out there for the book for sure. Divorce Poison. And I'm sure that we can kind of use some of those aspects in bringing up the behaviors that the children.
I think it is helpful, rather than to go into the courtroom saying parental alienation, to go in and show these are my child's behaviors when they talk to me or when they see me now, versus how their behaviors used to be. I think the behaviors are what are very revealing and is helpful in the courtroom. And also Dr. Warshak has written several papers that you can find online about the signs of parental alienation in court cases.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I think that that's going to be very beneficial to some of the people out there, because I think a lot of the times we walk into some of these family courts and we feel as if we're going to get cut off, or we don't have time, and so we display, or we say, let's all encompass this into one terminology so that way we get it out there. Unfortunately, that's not going to be successful for you. And what Wendy is and Laurie are saying, they're saying to you, you need to talk about, you need to kind of elaborate on why your child or what your child is doing. Some of these behaviors that they're going through, like if a child, you go to pick up a child and the child is locking themselves in a room, or something, unfortunate that is going on. Those aren't normal behaviors. And so we need to kind of talk about what those behaviors are in the court, so that a judge can really make their own determination. Hey, this is not natural. This isn't right.
Exactly.
And something.
I think some of it too is, I think that parents, I think that attorneys, I think judges, guardian ad litems, all those involved seem to have a very myopic understanding of parental alienation, in that they think it's simply one parent keeping the child physically away from another parent, when that's not all inclusive. All inclusive is really how you said it, is any parent who comes in the middle of a relationship that a child shares with another parent. And I can clearly remember my husband's ex-wife mentioning this, and that's where I think they distort what they're doing and rationalize it and minimize their actual alienation, because they're not keeping the child.
Yeah.
And so I think focusing on understanding that it's more than just keeping the child away from the other parent. It's interceding in that relationship period.
It's a pattern of behaviors.
Right. And that's kind of leads us a little bit into that next question, because when we're talking about some of these parents that are alienating, or you that are maybe a non-custodial and you're dealing with that other parent, what are some of the things that you think could possibly help and combat some of the alienation or the narcissistic personality disorder, or the combative parenting that's going on the other side? What are some suggestions that you guys may have to kind of deal with those things?
For us as parents, or are you
as advocates? Some of the things that you might suggest for the non-custodial parent. What are some of the behaviors maybe that you can see? What are some of the behaviors that you can use to respond to a narcissistic parent?
Definitely do not react.
Right.
Always treat them with kindness, no matter how angry you are. Anger is only going to set them off even further. And you also have to think about the space that your child is in, because once they're behind closed doors, that other parent's angry for any kind of interaction that has not gone well. So of course, I always worry in hindsight, what's happening to our children. So always walk away. If anything else, if you can't get through, walk away. It's better than starting another war.
Yeah. And Wendy, I'm sure that would you agree with some of those things, or anything else that you might have to add in that area?
Definitely. I tell parents to try your hardest to stick to the business of co-parenting, and do not engage in any discussions or communications with the other parent that is not related to co-parenting. So, really kind of treat it like a business relationship. Sounds a little bit cold, but really in these situations, to not engage with them outside of, parenting is really, really important, because once, if you've been involved with a narcissist personality, that once they get you engaged in that situation, you're in a no-win battle, and it will end up coming back to hurt the kids and cause even more problems, as far as the attachment goes. So I just always tell parents to, don't engage unless it is related to the business of co-parenting. Try to not overreact, get pulled into those battles that they try to have with you, and always role model to your children what it is that you're wanting, which is to have a cooperative, healthy co-parenting relationship, even if the other parent is not willing, but you need to show that in front of your kids. They need to see that you're the one who is calm, you love them unconditionally, you understand them, you're there for them. And I always told my kids, and I still do, I'm here to make your life easier, not harder. I'm here to make your life better, not worse. So whatever you can do to show them that unconditional love and understanding is very important, because they really need that.
Right. I would completely agree with that. And I would say the other biggest question that I'm sure a lot of people will have, say if you are a parent that is alienating, and you are displaying some of these behaviors, what are some of the things that you might do to seek help for these situations?
I love that question.
Whether that be a psychologist or, I mean, some people don't really recognize that they're doing some of these things.
It's an awesome question, and I love it because, I do presentations quite a bit, and I've had quite a few situations where someone comes up to me after the presentation and they say, "Oh my gosh, that's me. I'm doing that. I'm engaging in alienating behaviors." And they say, I didn't know that I was hurting my kids, and I'm going to stop. And so, that's what we always hope for. We hope that they have that light bulb moment. If they're a narcissist, that light bulb moment is never going to come. But what we're talking about would be an unintentional alienator. Maybe someone who they haven't really healed from the relationship ending. They're still bitter, angry. Maybe they're feeling a little revengeful, depressed, whatever. They just haven't quite healed yet, and so they're acting out. But once they realize that, then they stop. So that would be an unintentional alienator. They realize they're hurting their kids and they want to stop. So I would say, if you do realize that you're doing that and you're trying to stop, but it's a very bad habit that you're in and you're really struggling, I would definitely go to a counselor, to talk to a counselor about that. And also, there's a lot of information out there now about co-parenting. Study co-parenting like you would study any other subject, and figure out how can I co-parent the right way.
Right. I think that's a great aspect as well. And I know Bud will be chiming in here too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, brother. I don't know if I'm getting
what's going on in the background.
Feedback on my end. I'm not sure. We'll try it again here, Jay. Let me try to go ahead and go to Jesse for a minute. I know Jesse. There we go. I know Jesse. We've had Melissa Isaac on too, and she's talked a lot about parallel parenting, which I think is something that's very important. But that's kind of off the subject a little bit. I think it's important too that you mentioned people that may be alienating that recognize it, and I think that's so important if you do, because it's very easy to kind of step over that line. To where you're kind of doing things, as you said, we've talked about too, it's an emotional thing all the way through with your children. So you just got to be very careful with what you say. And if you do recognize, as was said earlier, that you're doing that, definitely seek some help if you can't navigate it yourself, definitely.
Well, if you recognize that you do that and you have the desire to stop, that's awesome. That's what we all want. That's great.
And that's what I was thinking too. If somebody can actually see it and recognize it, that's a big step, and you should be applauded for that.
Absolutely.
Right. I want to break that cycle of dysfunction and do better for my child or children. So yeah, that's to be applauded in my eyes too when I thought of that. So thanks for bringing that up. Definitely. That's the first step. Without acknowledgement, there is no healing.
That's right.
Yeah. That's correct. And I think that a lot of people out there that don't recognize that they're doing some of these things. And I thank Melissa Isaac so much for that term, parallel parenting, and bringing that up to us, because I think there's a way that we can do parenting without necessarily having to, you're never going to get along. Look, if you had a divorce, you had a divorce for a reason. It's because you couldn't get along. But the whole point is, it's not your children's fault. And so if you know that you can't get along, it's best to, okay, my rules are my rules in my house, your rules are your rules in your house. Let's try and coexist and get going.
Right, and have a healthy respect for that, especially if you recognize that perhaps maybe, as was discussed earlier too, is that as you just said, Jay, one of the other parents maybe can't get over emotional aspects of the relationship, and you recognize that co-parenting might not be a possibility, but it doesn't mean that it can't in the future, or it even needs to be, I think. I think that when Melissa discussed, and we've gone into depth about parallel parenting, I think that can be ideal too, that you have people do different things, but as long as there's a healthy respect and a healthy amount of communication, you can parallel it and do it in a healthy way, in a respectful way.
Right. And I think that the ultimate thing that we're talking about with parental alienation in itself is so much of the stigma that's put around it is for so long they've called it either the junk science or this, that, or the other, that maybe some of this, even within the parental alienation aspect or field, is maybe not being talked about the right way within a lot of the law schools and how to perceive it. And I know that you two gals, as well as Dr. Childress, is out there a lot trying to re-educate a lot of the attorneys and a lot of the judges as to the aspect of what parental alienation really is.
And that's what needs to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think a big aspect coming up that you were talking with me about, Laurie, is PAHR 368, I believe, out there in
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And if you want to talk about that a little bit, I would love to hear exactly about that, because I was trying to research that a little bit and unfortunately not finding too much.
Okay. Basically, and as I told you last night, all it really means, it gave us awareness. But when it was signed unanimously by 195 House members in our Pennsylvania House, they did acknowledge this as an extenuation of domestic violence, and they did acknowledge this as child psychological abuse. So it's like an entry door. And I've been going back and forth and talking to the new chief of staff, trying to work in somehow, and I keep hearing that they have to do more research. Well, then I offered, well, if you want Dr. Craig here, we can manage that. And I think after Dr. Craig testified in front of the Pennsylvania Children and Youth Committee, I mean, it was a huge eye opener. He did a fantastic job in 1 hour. He didn't even need a PowerPoint, and he did a fantastic job. He definitely made an impact.
Right. And I think that we're going to need a lot more of that. I mean, I believe that there's several doctors out there, psychologists, social workers, therapists that are out there who are really, really aware and very educated on parental alienation, what it is. J. Michael Bone, you've got Dr. Warshak that we were talking about. We've got Craig Childress. We've got several others out there that are really pushing the envelope on this. The thing that I've noticed in some states, and I don't think this is in all states, but in some states we have parental alienation awareness days. And I'm going to ask you about this because I think this is so crucial. We have parental alienation awareness days, but we have no laws a lot of the times that specifically spell out parental alienation.
And the first step to that is getting the awareness day. So that's why, I know Wendy's doing proclamations. I'm doing proclamations. Not sure who else. Wendy, do you know who else? But I mean, getting that awareness out there is the starting point. And from there we do it in baby steps.
Right.
And if we can get those proclamations, and if we can get a resolution passed within a house, I mean, that's how we got to go. And it's going to take time.
Well, yeah. I was going to tell you, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little bit about Parental Alienation Awareness Day. This April 25th will be the 13th annual International Parental Alienation Awareness Day. So it's every April 25th, and this will be the 13th year. And it was started by a lady named Sarvi Emo. And it's just a really important day there are events all around the world. It's a global awareness day, and we've had events almost in every country. It's just all around the world because it is a global problem, and people have different types of events. For us here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we always have a family-friendly event. We tell people to, bring their kids. We usually have like several generations, kids, grandkids, grandparents. We provide bubbles for free, and we just make it enjoyable and fun for the kids. But then the parents are able to meet other affected parents and grandparents. And there is a website that you can go to, and it lists some of the events that are happening around the world, and that is paawarenessday.com. So this year it falls on a weekday. So some people will be having their events on the weekend, but the actual day is April 25th. But if you go to that paawarenessday.com, you'll find events, throughout the week.
Right.
And I'd like to put a plug in for Steve Meehan. He's trying to organize a bunch of people down in Harrisburg. That is also on Wednesday, April 25th, the Awareness Day. The time is 11 till 12 o'clock. He has reserved the rotunda, and the rally will be at the state capitol. He's trying to pull more people together. Please put a plug out there for him.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I know how hard it is here in Pennsylvania. It's very difficult, even for a conference. And he's only got a handful in Harrisburg. And
Something that's really, oh, sorry, Lori. I was just going to say, sorry, something that's really, I think, awesome about Parental Alienation Awareness Day is if you want to have an event, you can have one. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to have, Dr. Childress, or you don't have to have hundreds of people. You can do it with just your neighborhood. Or I've actually done it several times at my work, where during our lunchtime, all of my coworkers and we go outside and we blow bubbles together and take pictures and post the pictures. So you can have an event wherever you are. It can just be you and a friend, or you can get your coworkers involved. I know some people who have actually done it at schools, because kids love to blow bubbles. They think that's a blast. So I know some people that have gone to schools and taken bubbles and said, hey, let's blow bubbles and have fun. And then while they're there, they tell the parents, this is what it is symbolizing. So
Wendy, I'm sorry, Bud Vino here. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt. That's a really great point, because it doesn't always have to be these big, massive sort of earthquake events. Awareness is spread sometimes through things as what you're speaking about. And it's that positive energy and awareness, getting it out there. It's getting that word out there, as small as it may seem. You don't know who you're going to touch or who might be influenced or affected. So it doesn't matter. Again, and it's keeping that positive and keeping it out there for yourself too, to keep it out there, keep it fresh. Until it's defeated, we can't stop. So I think that's a wonderful point, Wendy. Thanks for bringing that up. There is no little bit of help, or there's no little bit of awareness. It is what it is. So that's a really great point.
And
we've
our group
always,
will be having,
oh, sorry, Lori, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Wendy.
Sorry.
Our group will also be doing a little small rally at our courthouse. And if it's snowing out like it was today, we're even going to do it at the end of my driveway. I live on a state highway. So.
Good.
That way they can come in, get warm, grab a bite to eat, and go back out and rally.
Right, so some hot cocoa, and
Yeah.
that's how you build relationships too. Keep doing it. Hats off to you. That's how it's done.
That's amazingly right. Yeah, and I want to go ahead and bring in our newest member of the team here, Miss Neely Petrie. I'm sure she was chomping at the bit behind the scenes, wanted to ask a few questions. So I definitely want to bring her in at this time.
Yes, welcome, Neely.
Hello. Yeah, I just think that this is such an important subject. It hits very close to my heart because I am a victim of parental alienation and have been for now a couple of years. No contact with my oldest daughter. And, I didn't know about parental alienation until I found it. And I started going, this is a huge problem. And it's not addressed in the courts. No. And this is a problem, and it needs to be. And so what's so important about these events and everything is that people actually come and meet other people, hear stories, because, there is a maximum of law, and it says, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And, it is so important that everybody is getting to these, connecting. And that's why I'm so glad to have both of you guys on, because it's so important tonight for other people out there listening, that if you're a victim of this, we want you to connect and, be at these events, because it's so important, and it's not looked at in the courts, and it needs to be addressed in these laws. And the only way it's going to is if people come together and actually do it and go and visit and talk. And that's what we need.
Yeah, and I think, Neely, great point. Bud Vino again. I want to say, I think too is, I think we've all been at a point, and Jay and I have talked about this on past shows, and I'm sure that Jesse and the three of us have as well, is well, we usually are all at a point where we think, wow, our story is, people wouldn't believe it. And we think we're the, the quote unquote only one. It's not minimizing anyone's pain or what they've gone through. But the point is when you start talking about this with other people, again, networking, you see that you're not the only one, that it is abuse, that the feelings that you're feeling of, those feelings we've discussed of those stages of grief are very real. When you're alienated, you don't have your child, you don't have that love, and vice versa.
And not only that, it affects the child.
Exactly right. That I was leading into that. So thanks, Neely. Go ahead with that.
Yeah. Why we look at, we have to take accountability for our society now, and we see so many problems that we're having, and these need to be addressed, because I believe that these have not been addressed in the past. And a child feels they are half of the mom and they are half of dad. And if either one of those parents are making that child feel like that they should not be a part of their other parent's life, they're like, well, that is half of me, and that is how a child feels.
Right.
So it is a form of child abuse. So why is it not, looked at as such, by these courts?
Right. I want to say one more thing, Jay and Bud. I mean, with all the people listening tonight, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you are a victim of this, reach out to one of us. We know people all over. I actually contacted Wendy over a person that needs some help. But I mean, we all know people. That's why we network together. That's why we work together well as advocates. But we can find you the help that you need. And as we go back to the effects on children, I mean, this goes from, they could start bullying on a bus, and the behaviors, the mental health effects, the behavioral issues that they have, it goes into drugs, it goes into alcohol, it goes into teenage pregnancy, it goes into school dropout. They feel hopeless, just like the alienated parents do. And ultimately, it has resulted in suicide in not only parents, but our children. We have to help them. We have to stand up. We have to be their voice.
Right. We have to break that cycle, as we said, right? Break that cycle of dysfunction. If we don't, who's going to? And ultimately, as you said, Laurie, that helpless feeling that we've felt as alienated parents, it's as you said, even worse for the child. They're even less. They feel a lot of times they even have less of a voice. So we need to give them that voice, especially as people I know, Jesse and I have discussed a lot too, childhood issues and being adults now. We were children that were alienated against pretty much everybody, and we can tell you the effects that it has as adults in dealing with relationships. Every relationship, the different decisions we make, it really has a lasting effect, especially if you don't recognize it. And the issues that you stated, Laurie, they can't be understated. That's all true. Every issue that you stated, it's all correlated. There's no denying it anymore.
No.
Right.
And it's time we bring their voices to the surface and get something done. Call your legislators, call your representatives, write letters. And do you know that every person that goes in, I took 4 parents into our last meeting with our state rep, and each person represents 1,000 people. I mean, you make that phone call represents 1,000 of the community. So keep calling, keep going to the offices, make a presence, make your presence known, make your issues known, so they understand. They don't just blow you off. Keep going back. Don't give up. These
And
are our
here's the
children.
thing.
These are our babies.
They remember too, because I have had just, general people not attached to the movement have reached out to legislators with, parental alienation, fatherlessness, child support issues, veteran disability issues. I've had multiple people reach out to me and say they've been directed to me from their legislators. So they're listening. I just think that the political crap gets so involved and it becomes so much that they know it would almost be political suicide to take on, issues this big and really, really run with them to the degree that they need to be ran with. And
just think about the funding we would be shutting down if we stopped the alienation. Think about
absolutely. Almost $35 million last year for Florida alone. Neely, my heart breaks for you. I openly advocate for fathers' rights, but when a mother is alienated, when a mother goes through parental alienation and that's supported by the courts, there's almost a worse stigma that's attached to that because women are seen as the superior parent. They're seen as the better one, as the nurturer. So when you experience that alienation, gosh, that's 20 times worse than any father could possibly imagine. We spoke with Suze Remus before, and so to be able to survive that and to be able to continue to advocate against that and spread awareness, that's tremendous.
I think the statement that we hear most often, what you're referring to, is people saying, "Well, you must have done something wrong."
Exactly.
For a child to not see their mom or have a relationship with their mom, you must have done something wrong. And so that's one of the many reasons that awareness and education are so super important. I was going to point out to anyone out there who's considering having an Awareness Day event that when you have an awareness event, you want to attract people. So try to make your Awareness Day event, attractive for people to come to. Tell them that, we're going to have fun. We're going to blow bubbles. It's just a great time for fellowship, because if I'm not against rallies or protests, but when you have a rally or a protest, who comes to it? Well, we do. And we already know all about it, don't we? Right? So we want to attract people who don't know about it. We want to teach them about it. We want them to understand about how important this issue is. And so that's why these Awareness Day events are really important, to make them attractive, to attract other people who are not already in our circle, so they can learn about it and then they can care about it as much as we do, and they can help us with this really important cause. Does that make sense?
Yet another great point, because Jay, we were talking about groups and things like that before the show, and I'm glad you brought up, Jay and I brought up the term how supportive we are of groups that are inclusive.
Yes.
And I think that we were just discussing that, and you mentioned that in terms of awareness and making people feel welcome. And that, again, it's not an exclusive sort of club. It's inclusive, where people can actually learn and again, be educated. It's a good point too you brought up again, that again, the rallies, things are great. I'm supportive of anything positive, but it's different strokes, right? It's different things that bring, it's all different, stances and ideas. And I think this brings a great set. The ideas you just brought up, and the ability to kind of bring people in from the outside is wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that's correct. A lot of the rallies that we're seeing are great. They're outstanding. I think a lot of the group settings that we have to educate one another, I think are outstanding. The webinars or things like that are outstanding. I think it's time, though, that in our day and age, in 2018, that some of the direct protesting kind of just sides off, because we've understood and we've learned now that we can't hold up a sign that may be offensive to someone that we're trying to have their vote when it comes down to a bill or anything like that, by saying something oppressive to them on a sign, and they're going to be turned the wrong way. We've learned and we've understood that now, and it's come to an evolution where we've understood we need their vote. We need as many people on board.
It's important for us to be approachable, right? Because we want people to feel comfortable to approach us and say,
Right.
hey, people call me the bubble lady here in Dallas Fort Worth, right? So people say, hey, you're the bubble lady. Yeah, that's me. I carry bubbles in my car. I give bubbles out all the time, right? Bubbles of love, which is part of Parental Alienation Awareness Day.
Right.
But it's really important that we let people know we're approachable, we're nice. And, we're not just protesting. We want to talk to you about parental alienation. We want to have a conversation with you in a very, very nice, friendly way. And it's so important because, like I said, we want to reach out to people who don't know about it. And to your point, Jay, I think it's so important that we have the realization that we need to partner with judges and attorneys and people. A lot of people don't like to hear this, right? Because they say, well, they're the enemy. But it's really, really important that we're approachable with them as well, because we need them to understand parental alienation. We need them to be on our side, and we need them to want to be part of the solution with us. So it's really, really important that we make ourselves approachable and able to have these conversations with them.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Jay, quickly, another great point by Wendy. I think we've heard that a lot from our friend Mark Ludwig, American Speak of Shared Parenting, about how, and if you think about it on a very much a common sense level, again, the people that you want to hear you and to get your message across, sometimes screaming at them, and as Jay said, throwing signs up that aren't always flattering isn't always the best way to get their positive attention. Some people, we're not discussing the corrupt ones. We're talking about the ones that actually could and would probably help if they were approached in the right way. So again, good point, Wendy, about being approachable. I think that's important as well.
Right. I think that's absolutely correct, because we've got quite a few attorneys that are within the movement that are doing an amazing job. And really their commitment, number one commitment as a bar licensed attorney, is to the court. They are an officer of the court, but they understand as well that the people of the United States are who elect the judges usually, and unfortunately sometimes they're appointed. I think that needs to stop. I think the appointments needs to stop. I think everyone should be an elected official. If you're not an elected official, we have a problem, because we no longer have a democracy, or what we should call a constitutional republic, because you're not electing an official. They're just getting appointed. And a lot of the appointments lead to a lot more problems, because that's where the corruption lies, is okay, you have contributed to my campaign finance to get elected, and so therefore I'm going to put you as a judge in this particular area. No, that's a conflict of interest. We need to start addressing some of those things. Parental alienation, I believe, is the same way, because we have a lot of the same issues that are going on with parental alienation. Maybe we're forcing these things down because some of these elected officials want to continue the same propaganda that goes on, that this is a junk science. Why? Because they want to continue to alienate you from your child. They want to continue to get the Title 4D funding. They want to continue to get the Title 4E funding out there from CPS, DCF, DCFS, alphabet groups, whatever you want to call them this week. That's usually what they go by. So, hey, and it's true, and it's by state, and so that's fine, and we understand that you're going to call it something, a different acronym in each state. I think it should be all one acronym, but that's me, because I think that they're doing that for a reason, and I think it's a rather devious reason.
No, don't say that.
No, only the child support is under 42 USC 666. I don't know. You tell me. So when we're talking about some of these things, though, in parental alienation, it's not even the fact of we're talking about child support issues, because this comes down to the dull factor of when we're talking about when a parent should have time with their children, and unfortunately are being alienated from that time, or they're being talked about in such a way in which they cannot have a constructive, loving, compassionate, and caring relationship with their child. That's a real issue and a real problem. How do you think really that we can get a hold of some of these legislators and really sit down and educate them to the factor of this is what parental alienation is. Here's why we need a law that protects these children and their psychological development at an early age, and the effects of that. How can we accomplish that?
Well, if you don't mind, I suggest you guys all look up your state representatives, find out who's on the Children and Youth Committee. They've got committees. Start there. If you get something sponsored, go back to those sponsors. Start there. They have to know somebody else that would be interested in joining those efforts. That's how we got rolling on the House resolution. And I know it's no big deal, but in my eyes, it is a big deal. Because I want to go back to those. I want to go back to those sponsors and say, hey, here's a new proclamation. Let's throw in the House resolution. Let's note it in this proclamation. Let's go another step further. And they know what I want. They totally understand that there is a need for child abuse law reform, but it's going to take time. So I just say keep hitting them. Look for those people that are involved with the Children and Youth Committees. There's plenty. They're all labeled as to what department they're under. And then if you contact them and say, hey, who else works with you, or who else can you recommend, and go from there.
And I think the important part too is also following up on that. In Florida, our previous governor, his name was Charlie Crist. He's now a U.S. Senator here. He actually signed one of the first parental alienation awareness proclamations, in our state. And, our current governor has been governor for 2 terms. So what is that? 8 years? Is it 8 years? Okay. So he couldn't even remember. He couldn't even remember what he signed. So not only getting him to sign it, but following up with it, continuing to educate and spread awareness, and making sure that these legislators, that these governors, that whoever they are, mayor, school boards, it doesn't matter, that we continue to follow up and make sure they know the severity of parental alienation awareness, and why we're doing what we're doing and why we're not going to stop. Yeah. I can't tell you how many legislators I have had tell me that if you want equal time sharing, if you want parental alienation awareness education, get the women. It is us females here in the trenches. We're the ones that are making the difference. Not that men aren't significant, because they definitely are, but our legislators are listening to the women, and we owe it. We owe it to them.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think they do really pay attention more, a little bit more, to the women of the movement. And I think that the reason for that is the obvious aspect that they see a mother as the primary caregiver in most particular cases, just because of the biology in it. And I think that a lot of the times that is the case. And if a woman speaks up as the biological caregiver, it takes much more for them to say, I'm going to turn a blind eye to this.
Yeah, Jane, I think more so too. First of all, Laurie, adorable. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I think it's when we're united too. When they see us actually both standing up together and saying, wait a minute. It's just I think, again, I'm not minimizing the importance of women, because obviously the women in the movement are it's paramount. It's a necessity. But I think united, where we all come together, asexual, just saying, this isn't an issue of sex. This is just an issue of abuse. This is an issue of right and wrong. Right. So again, as much as certain people and certain groups would like to make this a gender issue, to kind of distract us from the actual goal, it really truly isn't, when we can kind of brush that off and say, wait a minute, no, wrong fight.
That's right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just want to touch on one more thing. I know so many of you, and I would too, if I was in a different scenario, but this shared parenting, it works great for a couple that used to get along or plans on getting along for the children. But in severe parental alienation, shared parenting will not work. I mean, we have an issue with that, because number one, they're not following the court orders as it is. And number two, I mean, how can you possibly do shared parenting with somebody that refuses to follow a court order. So I want to keep pushing, hats off to Mark Ludwig. I love what he's doing, and I think he'll go far with it, but we've got to come back to reality in these severe alienation cases. Wendy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because to your point, and I think this has been mentioned a few times in the last few minutes, that parental alienation is not actually a custody issue. It is a child abuse issue. And that's one of the challenges that we face when we talk about legislation, because legislating for any percentage of parenting time, equal parenting, shared parenting, however you want to call it, I think, that's fine, and it's great, and it's important. However, I know many parents, who had exactly 50-50 custody, and they still had their children completely alienated from them, because it's not about a percentage of parenting time. It's about the alienating behaviors of the alienator. So you can have your kids 95% of the time, but if the alienator is a narcissist and they're very, very skilled at what they do, they can alienate your kids from you in that 5% of time. So something that we need to always keep in mind is it's not a child custody issue, it's a child abuse issue.
Wow, both great points by both of you. I think you're spot on, because it's definitely none of us discount the work that Mark's doing, and I think it's necessary. But you bring up amazingly valid and true points. So in saying that, along with what you guys are doing, what would you suggest maybe to the parents out there, as tough as it is? And I can say this from personal experience, it's very hard to co-parent in 50-50 with someone who has no interest in it.
Right.
So what would you guys suggest individually, both of you, if you want to go one at a time, and just what would you suggest to parents that are going through it? Thanks.
Absolutely, stay strong. You have to take care of yourself. In the event your children do return, you should be number one in your life right now. Your kids aren't there, and it sucks. It really sucks every day. I know I've been in some very dark holes, and sometimes it's hard to see that light, but this is why I do what I'm doing. I'm doing it not only for the 3 that are missing, but I'm doing it for that little girl that went up to a shower, because she's missing too. She's missing out. It's not fair to her. So I'm just going to say, stay strong, stay focused, take care of you, take care of yourself. If you feel like it's the end, reach out to somebody. Please pick up that phone, call somebody. We're all here to help.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I do want to put in the point too that a lot of these 50-50 custody bills and how they're particularly worded would be what's called a presumption rebuttal, meaning that if there's domestic violence or if there are alienation issues that should come up within a fitness hearing of both parents, I believe that probably you should and could have a fitness hearing at any time during that custody. I believe that should be the case. If there is a question and it's a legitimate question, it's not a, hey, so-and-so didn't let me do this on Friday night kind of thing. This has to be a continuous process where you're continually being alienated. Sure, you should go back for a fitness hearing as well.
Well, also, Jay, this is as we've talked about with Mark too, and as you guys, I'm preaching the choir here, and to everybody, as time goes on, there are going to be things are worked on and adjusted, and different things are presented again. So I think the points you're making about the different circumstances, what Jay's saying too, is in time, as frustrating as it is, I think for all of us, these little things hopefully will be chiseled out, and we can have some other things go on in the future too.
Exactly.
I want to make a point too. A lot of courts, a lot of states, and a lot of courts are different. We're having more problems, let's say, in this state than we are this state. My situation in South Carolina, a lot of courts even are doing it to parents, so we have a lot of different parallel issues. Unfortunately, in my case, I had, a parent that was a narcissist that would never follow a court order. And, I had a court that was also corrupt, wanting money. So I got the both bad, ends of both stick. But we've got a lot of problems and a lot of situations, and we need all these courts. In my opinion, there needs to be something federal law. If the family court is going to continue, they can't continue on the path that they've been on. And if we are showing, hey, they didn't do this, they wouldn't bring me my child, and something has to be done, and that child abuse needs to be looked at over a certain period of time. If this happens, let's say 2 or 3 times, the court should stop and say, okay, you need to go, there needs to be even maybe special doctors, because we have a serious issue. And that's just,
Yeah, and I think this needs to be really somewhat of a continuous process. It seems like, unfortunately, on the issues and the scenarios, how they are playing out right now, if you are a primary breadwinner and you are the non-custodial parent, you're going to be drugged into court probably once a year anyways. Hey, what did you get that raise? And, why don't we, instead of doing that and making that such a process, let's talk about the children. How are the children adjusting?
Absolutely.
How is this situation going?
They go by the best interest doctrine. So if they're going by, this best interest doctrine, why aren't they caring about the best interest of the child? Something's not right here. So.
Right. The very first step would be to stop taking the money, or stop giving money to the states. Stop. Defund family court, defund child support, defund the Title IV D and E, defund it. If you take the money away, you take the corruption away. If you take the corruption away, then you could really get to the root of what is going on, and it is parental alienation. It's power, control, narcissistic parenting. Take away the money, and that's what you have at the end of the day. You talk about the best interest standard. We can show through research. We can show it. Over and over and over again that children having both parents, whether it's a parallel parenting, consortium, or it's a healthy co-parenting relationship, you can get the same results from both ones. So parallel parenting, 2 parents who independently parent in their own ways during their own time, and co-parenting is where you parent together. If you didn't successfully complete process a marriage together and it just went to shit, then the ability for 2 people to co-parent in that form is probably rare.
Right. That, and I will agree with Laurie and Wendy as well when we're talking about this is really a psychological issue. This is not a custody issue in any set form, because you could have a parent or a couple that are together who are continually alienating the child from the other parent. They can still be together and be married
all the time. Usually these parental alienation situations, these dynamics happen long before they ever end up in a courtroom. And I think that's something to keep in mind that's very, very important. And that's another reason why education is so incredibly important to the general public. Again, not educating us, we know about it, but to educate other people about these are the signs of parental alienation. These are the red flags. So if you see these things starting to happen with your ex, or like you said, even when you're married, it usually starts when you're still married, but to be educated about these signs so that we can have some prevention and these cases don't even end up in court is incredibly important, because these dynamics always start long before they end up in a courtroom.
And half the time though, Wendy, half the time we didn't know what was really happening to our children when it was happening. We didn't know. So, and luckily, like today, I had a gentleman call for the conference, and it took a good 45 minutes to talk to him, but he wanted to get this off his chest. He had that aha moment. He found some stuff online. He's like, this is what my child is going through. And I mean, they're going back to court. Thank God it's the beginning of this situation. And he's going to request for a modification, look for an evaluation. And normally in good cases, it works. But when it's been so entrenched and the case has gone on so long and there's been no relief, and they're just stacking counselor on top of counselor, GALs, parental, what do they call them? Parent coordinators.
Right.
I mean, it goes on and on and on, and nobody's actually investigating what's going on. They're just continuing the process, and which further down the road alienates us even more, because then you have to wait for that court order. You file for contempt, wait 6 months, get heard. If nothing's resolved in there, oh, let's go to counseling in 2 more months, or it's just.
Right. Yeah, I completely
absolutely.
agree with you. I think that's what I call, Bud, that's what I call when you're married beforehand and you're experiencing parental alienation, that's what I call laying the battleground, because it's about to happen.
Well, yeah. Watch for the warning signs, right? All of us who have been in those sort of relationships, we probably all have. Right. I think this is really important too. Again, to our guests, thanks too, because I think these different experiences, and we mentioned women too, and it's great as a male. It's great to have these experiences too, and the viewpoints that you folks have, because and the different experiences again, because we talked about networking. There's somebody out there that's going to hear one of your stories or experiences or the way you view things or how you've approached things. And it's, again, we talked about the aha moment. You never know who can be affected and who can relate. I think getting all these different experiences, and it's about exposure to force that acknowledgement, that it's not right. These things are wrong. And again, ultimately it's about the generation that's going to be here when we're not. So they don't end up like we were. Exactly. They end up better. So that's what it's about.
Yeah, Wendy, you made an awesome point. That is education, because see, I didn't know either. And if there's parents out there watching this right now, learn about the signs. This is what it is, and go into court and bring it up. Tell your attorney, if you have one, what it is. If your attorney does not want to bring that up, don't let your attorney tell you no. So see, then we can say, okay, I have a bad attorney. I don't have I have a bad attorney. He is not bringing this up. And that's when fire him.
Right. That's
fighting for yourself, and tell them, make sure you're heard, make sure you have a voice. And on Kirk's Law Corner, we'll talk that we will help you go in, and that's what he does, teaches you how to go in. So it's important about education, so you can go in and let the court know, because the more people and the more courts and the more people hearing about this, we can stop this.
Exactly.
Right, Jay. I think that's a big distinction, Jay, too, because, and that's a great point by our guest too, that there's a difference between an attorney knowing the law perhaps better than you and saying, I'm going to do certain things this way to protect you along the way, and things that are just blatantly, they want to kind of skim through the process as effortlessly as possible. So again, Jay, how would you, I guess off the cuff, how would you know to distinguish that? If for people listening, how would you know to distinguish, and maybe to some of our guests, an attorney that actually you might look that is looking to protect you, and one that is just looking to kind of get you through the system and take all they can from you?
Well, you know what the difference is between a good attorney and a great attorney? A good attorney knows the law. A great attorney knows the judge.
Yeah. Right, there you go. I guess that's it. And well, quickly too, I wanted to bring up Jesse's point, because Jesse brought up the great point too of, honestly, the root of everything is the money. I mean, that really truly is. And until you get to that, the root of all evil, right, guys? Until you bring that and you figure that out, the rest again is trying to maintain and trying to kind of, what it is basically, Jay, we've talked about too, is bringing enough heat to the issue, proverbial heat, bringing that sort of exposure and awareness that you force people to act, kind of what Mark Ludwig's doing on certain levels too, with what he's doing, and the people out there on that level. And again, I think it's needed on all different levels to bring that sort of pressure. And
I love Mark and what he's doing. I love Kirk, and I want to mention that because we've had John and Chris Hallett on. And they're doing some amazing things from different angles. I think the more angles that we come from attacking this, I think the better. This is kind of like called a flank attack in the military, where you're surrounding your opponent. And at that point, there's no alternative. You've got to surrender.
Everybody has different skills and different things they're good at, just like anything in life. And you need that. Not everybody has the same personality. Not everybody has the same thing that they're talented at. And if you can recognize that and all come together and say, wait, these differences are all needed to reach the end goal. Without them, we'll never get there.
That's right.
We're all caring about children.
Exactly.
You know, we're all
Right.
caring about children.
Right.
Our
Thank you.
future generations. And you know, the Constitution says that, you know, like, and how we've steered so off, you know, still to this day blows my mind. Because I didn't know, you know, and what was so sad, and because I missed my child so much, I didn't know that this was, you know, going on, and I never knew, hey, I am being alienated. This is called parental alienation, and I need you to bring this up to the attention to the court, you know, and so yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I definitely want to thank Laurie and Wendy for their time. I know we've reached our hour time here so quickly.
Yeah, it did.
We need another hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we will definitely have you guys on again, but I want to definitely give you guys an opportunity to give a plug. Number one, to the parental alienation. I believe you've got a seminar coming out there or a workshop coming out there. I want to give you a time to plug that, as well as how to get a hold of you guys. If there's anyone out there that wants to get a hold of you and needs some help with different aspects, definitely want to give you time to plug that.
Okay, thank you. Everybody, the Parental Alienation Awareness Conference is slated for next Friday, which is coming up rather soon, April 27th, 2018. We have an awesome lineup of speakers. This is an all-day event. We have definitely, we have worked very hard. We have attorney Ashish Joshi. He's coming out of Detroit, or I'm sorry, not Detroit. I'm so sorry. Ann Arbor, Michigan. He has totally dedicated his practice to complex litigation cases, including parental alienation. We have Catherine McWillie coming in from Nevada. Her background is phenomenal. She not only has 34 years of experience in family law, but she also has 24 years in law enforcement. So I'm very anxious to meet her in person. Rod McCall, if you guys do not know Rod McCall, his story, Bring Your Tissues. It is the extreme case of parental alienation. His books will be available at the conference, but he lost his son to alienation in the worst form. The mother killed him and then killed herself.
Yeah.
Of course, we have Wendy Perry, which I'm so excited to have. We have another lady, Susan. She's been alienated for 4 decades. We also have Michael Port coming in. He's been alienated from his children for 8 years. He has reunited with one, if I'm not mistaken, but he definitely has a background of alienation. And then we have a speaker, Jack Lynch, who, as a public figure, was severely affected with parental alienation and his personal story. Eventbrite never notified me today that the ticket sales have stopped. So I was calling them nonstop this afternoon, Wendy, and it says sales have ended. And I'm like, and of course, you know, you call the number and there's no one to speak with. So I did post on the event that the event is still there, but I had to put a big note on there to contact me directly. I do have Square on my phone. We are running a half-off sale, so tickets are $50. I've had tons of calls today. It was great. We've got people coming in from everywhere. So I just want to make sure you guys, if you want a day of learning and education and a day of gathering with others that have been through this, please join us in Erie next Friday.
Yep,
Wendy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait. We had a big parental alienation symposium here in Dallas a year ago, and Laurie came to that. And so Yeah, it's just whenever you can get a group of people together who understand and care about parental alienation as much as you do, it's really empowering. And the education that's going to be happening at this conference and area is great. I'm so excited to meet everybody. And so get a ticket and come if you can. It's just going to be a great, great conference.
Right.
I've got a couple things coming up. Can I mention those real quick?
Sure,
Is that
absolutely.
okay? Okay. So I will be in Erie for that conference, and then I will be flying back to Dallas Saturday morning, and then hosting a Parental Alienation Awareness Day event here in Dallas on Saturday, April 28th at 2:00. And people can find me on Facebook, and then I can get you connected to these events and links. And then also, the first weekend of June, I am very honored to be going to Washington, D.C. with Rod McCall and Dr. Craig Childress, and we're going to hand deliver the parental alienation petition to the APA. And we do want parents involved in this. And so there is a link to an event, and I'll just tell your viewers, it's Parental Alienation Petition Delivery to APA Public Updates. And again, if you find me on Facebook, I can get you connected to that. But at that event, we'll be posting how parents can get involved when we deliver the petition in Washington, D.C. in June.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely awesome stuff. And I want to explain, before we let you go, I definitely want to explain some of the things. Some of the money that you're paying for a lot of these different events, it's for the actual event building. These things do cost money, so it's not like they're making a lot of money off this event. These people are trying to put these things together, and they have to pay for the place where we're going to have that event, or the flyers, or the soft drinks, or whatever it may be. That's
airfare, hotel.
Airfare, yeah, all that is things that they have to use, and they're not making a lot of money off of this particular event. It's not like that. These things all cost money. Unfortunately, it's not like we can walk around or fly around for free. So a lot of this gets discombobulated sometimes, where we say, okay, well, $50, what is that really going towards? Well, it's going for the right reasons, people. It's not going for anything else. So I wanted to explain that real quick. So thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm sure my co-hosts would also like to thank you for coming on in your time, Laurie and Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, guys. It's been a pleasure. And the time, most of the time goes by quick, but this went by extra quick. Again, we're going to have you guys back on, because we've just scratched the surface, I know, of some of the things you guys are doing and been putting forward. So again, as Jay said, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's going to empower some people and educate some people, and definitely assist some people, and ultimately the children out there, it's going to help. So thank you so much.
And if anybody's looking for either one of us or any of our advocates, please reach out through Facebook. Wendy's on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Neely, I know that I know about you a little bit more. I don't know you, Jesse, but I'm willing to find out. So just reach out.
I usually do the introductions if I don't know if Jesse knows somebody. So I apologize for my rudeness. So Laurie, Jesse, Laurie, Wendy, everybody. I should have done those in the beginning. So fashionably late.
It's because we're so far away from each other.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much. We greatly appreciate you. And we're going to go ahead and get into our next part of the show. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Move on here. And okay. So we've got that taken care of here on the housekeeping, guys. And we're going to go roll into the anniversary, or excuse me, the anniversaries, the birth dates, and the calendar of events. I'm thinking about anniversaries.
Hey, we could do that too. That's a great. You just we can do anniversaries too, folks. We support strong marriages and strong relationships. So Jay just screwed up. He just made us.
Well, I was just thinking about I was just thinking about our anniversary there, bud. You never got me anything. You know, I mean, we're coming up on the
one year. I was hoping you would have not remembered that 1 year. But we're coming up. And Jay, did we ever get that number on what show we're on? I don't know if you had time to do that. I didn't.
I know. Yeah, we're on show 93, I believe. 93.
Really?
Yeah.
That many? I was gonna say, if we didn't have the number, what do we always do? Is if something goes wrong, we blame Pete.
Yeah.
And again, especially since he's not here to defend himself, that's the best way. I got awesome first half, guys. It flew by. It's more than first half. It's already almost 20 past 9 o'clock Eastern time, and again, awesome.
Exactly. I muted myself. Unfortunately, we're gonna go ahead and go to the break real quick here. But before we do, I do want to give an update, a breaking news event. I believe Barbara Bush Senior, has passed away at 92 years old, unfortunately. So please keep their family in your prayers. Unfortunately, whether you liked George or George W. or not, unfortunately, the passing of anyone in their family is just obviously a difficult time. So definitely keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And I'm going to share this with you real quick, and we'll get right to Neely.
Thanks, Jay.
Have you ever felt? Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we are back here, and I'm going to go ahead and get you right over to Miss Neely Petrie with our calendar of events and birthdays.
So we have a lot of events coming up. April 25th, which is a Wednesday, at starting at 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have the Pennsylvania Parental Alienation Awareness Day Rally. Starting at 10 a.m. at the Pennsylvania State Capitol Rotunda in Harrisonburg, Pennsylvania. See Stephen Meehan for more details. April 27th, Friday, that is with Wendy Archer, the Parental Alienation Awareness Conference, 7 a.m. at the Zim Zim Shrine Club. And again, see Wendy Archer for more details on that. And then also that event that she was talking about on the next day on April 28th, starting at 2 o'clock. May 12th, which is Saturday, we have a Spring Family Fun Fest starting at 10 a.m. at the Crown Plaza, Springfield in Springfield, Illinois. See Dads Can Too or Jesse West Sr. for more details. On May 20th, which is a Sunday, Capital for Kids, starting at 11 a.m., Holiday Inn, Alexandria, Old Town in Alexandria, Virginia. Please see Americans for Equal Shared Parenting for more details. Tickets are between $25 and $50, so make sure you get them now. June the 6th, Wednesday, Parental Alienation Petition Delivery to APA in Washington, D.C., starting at 7 a.m. Please see Laurie Nicholson. She was on tonight for more details on that. So come join us in Washington, D.C. On June the 8th and 9th is a 2-day Tennessee Jam for Families event. It is starting at 2 p.m. in Nashville, Tennessee. Please see Lydia Hubble for details on this. Birthdays today: Eric Prince, Jolynn Gibson, Kim Carnes. Wednesday: Stephen Stainer, Annie Kelly, Denise O'Connell, Kelly Rigg. Thursday: Andy Redwing, Shannon Hugh, Gina Clazil. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Friday: Margaret Stevens, Robert Collins, Michael German. Saturday, we have Tammy Foytick, Alan Holder, Javin Huntley, Christine Desiree, Angela Johnson. Sunday, we have Tracy Vargas, Cynthia Ellis, Diana Baumgarter, Jonathan Ritchie, Steve Bradley. And Monday, we have Jill Wise, Corina Ulrich, Crystal Miller, Christopher Chapman, Amber Lucero, and Jeffrey Fisher. So everybody have a happy birthday, and until we see you again next Tuesday. And again, we have the Far From Normal radio show is copywritten, and copying or transmission of all broadcast of the show is strictly prohibited without express written consent of the Far From Normal radio show's staff and board of directors. So
awesome job. Amazing. You get better every week. Roll.
Hey, it's a good thing that I wasn't up for that middle job, and I was going against Neely because I'd just bow out. Incredible. This is only Neely's second time, and it's like she's just an old veteran.
Yeah.
Awesome, Neely, per usual. And you didn't even screw up any birthday names. It usually gives me some nice fodder to come on and rib you, especially as a newbie, but incredible. Thank you, Neely.
I bet you somebody's out there going, she didn't say my name right.
Right. Well, as right, you made it, even if it was wrong, you made it sound right. And that's the key. It flowed. So great job. And happy birthday to everybody out there. Remember, your birthday is your special day. It's the day that you came into the world. So, of course, it was changed forever. You came into it. So happy birthday. Make it a special day.
That's exactly right. And we are back on the Far From Normal radio show. And I'm Jay Moss, your host. Definitely got Mr. Bud Vino.
Yep. And from Florida on this April 17th, our sister from another Mr. Jesse Weiner. How are you, Jess?
Lovely. My kids went from having a birthday to a birthday weekend to a birthday week to now they have a birthday month.
I was going to tell you should make it a birthday month, but yeah, you beat me to it. That's great. At my age, I don't want a birthday month, but at their age, it's great.
Yeah, I think we're reminded at our age of how we all need walkers at this point in our lives. I guess.
Okay, I don't need to be reminded. Okay, I don't need to be reminded that I turned 30 already. Okay, I don't need to be reminded of that. 30 was so many moons ago. Yeah.
1 times however
a lot.
many.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
So the funny, interesting thing was one of my kids today was asking how old. It wasn't today, but it was this weekend. They was asking how old I was, and the other child, my daughter Maddie, she's the comedian of the group, and she looks at me and says, "Well, how was it when you got to see the Declaration of Independence signed?"
Oh yeah. Well, it's what's even worse is when I see Carter is a little older, so if he doesn't really blatantly, I'll know. But Mason, he's younger. He's only 7. But I remember him asking me my age when I told him it was almost that jaw drop. Like, no, seriously. Like, and he's my wife and I always say too, when the boys kind of look up and they're kind of like figuring it, we say calculating. He's trying to figure it out, and he's like, no. And he's thinking, when your kids think you're kidding about how old you are, you really feel old.
Yes.
But we make it look good. Absolutely.
Well, Jesse makes it look good. I don't know about us.
Absolutely. We think we do. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, I'll give a shout out before, because I usually give shout outs. We'll give a couple to my biggest, first of all, my littlest bestest. My biggest bestest too. I muted out the camera for a little bit, and I knew you guys wouldn't mind because Mason ran by and he's jumping up and down, and he's like, I'm talking to Carter. So I muted it, and I got to speak with Carter as we were on the air, and it was great. He's telling me, but he does fencing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he's telling me all about it, and I loved it. And I told him I was on the air. He said, "Oh, sorry." I said, "Buddy, no, man, it's wonderful. I'm proud to be able to brag and say I was talking to you." So give a shout out to my biggest bestest out there. He's coming off strep throat, but he sounded great tonight. He sounded invigorated, Jay and Jesse. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and guys, I'm looking forward because I seen a lot of activity in the last week for sure. I'm very upbeat about this because I've seen so much activity. I've seen a lot of bad things and I've seen a lot of good things, and a lot of the bad things have to do with the Bar Association and some of the domestic violence women who are trying to stop something that might end up being good for them in shared parenting bills anyway. Remember, there's a presumption rebuttal in every single one of these 50-50 custody bills. That presumption rebuttal is specifically designed for you, a domestic violence victim, who can go to court and say, hey, look, we need to deviate from 50-50, and here's why in that fitness hearing. So that's specifically in there. Parental alienation is specifically in there for that reason, because we wanted to give an out in there if there was a particular reason why that someone should deviate from 50-50. We do have fit parents out there. We do have unfit parents out there, unfortunately. We saw Kentucky did pass. I was told by Mark that unfortunately he didn't want to really announce a lot of that because of the fact of there were some things that the Bar Association tried to throw in there at the last second, unfortunately, and they love to do that. So we've got to be super leery about some of the things that they're trying to throw in last second, even if it's already approved, and some of the strange illegal nonsense that they're trying to do behind the scenes. There's a lot of that from HB 4113 as well as in Illinois, where we've got an issue with the situation. But I want to say, number one, LaShawn K. Ford is amazing. We've had the man on this program.
Yeah, awesome.
Planned for that ahead of time, got it into a different committee, got it passed. Awesome job, LaShawn. You're amazing. I'll give you the Chuck Norris thumbs up.
Well, yeah, as I said, guys, too, there was a picture that Mark posted. I believe it had, I called it the Dream Team. It had LaShawn, it had Mark, it had, I believe, Chad Laudermilk, it had, but I said, there's the Dream Team right there. Out of this. So,
Jesse,
and they were they were strategizing. Yeah, Jesse, yeah, they were. Yeah, it's great to see, man. There's a level of confidence when you see those gentlemen and the folks out there doing that. You kind of go sit back and say, oh yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. And I was livid by some of the things that were said. I know
you were. Yeah, you posted that video. I could feel the heat coming up your words, Jay.
I was livid. Bud and I had a discussion, and it was early as soon as I heard about it, and I heard what was said by one of the attorneys, and it had to come into the whole issue where they completely confessed before everybody about the fact that Title IV-D funds, they needed them so badly because they needed to pay Title IV-A funds, and if you don't know what those are, that's the welfare system.
Jay had to rewind it like 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
What?
There's no way.
Yeah, and it's straight out of Blessings versus Freestone, where they completely are complicit in not apologizing for the fact that they're taking Title IV-D funds and Title IV-E funds to pay for Title IV-A of the Social Security Act, which is actually Title IV-A of the Social Security Act is the welfare system.
Oh, so now you just gave me a whole journey to
Here we go.
Yes.
And I want to backtrack, because when we talk about domestic violence,
sure,
and we talk about domestic violence, we talk about true victims, true victims of domestic violence, not the I want to keep my home, I want to keep my kids, I want to get $1,000 a month in child support, so I'm going to accuse the other partner of abuse. We're talking about the true domestic violence victims.
Right.
Okay. And then I didn't know anything about this title. What is it? Title IV-A?
Well,
Title IV-A is the welfare system. Title IV-B, I believe, or C has to do with educational funds. Well, it's all a government wash. But once you get to D, we're talking about child support.
The money that funds it all.
Right. And then we're talking about Title IV-E, which is the CPS DCF situation. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
one of the interesting things I found in, hang on, but one of the interesting.
Go ahead.
One of the interesting things I found in my research, and I'm really, really getting deep down into it, is, do you know how when you use your bank card to pay your child support, you're charged 3.5%? I don't know if you guys know that. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, when you use your bank card or to pay your child support, you charge 3.5%. Do you know that the state actually makes money off of that?
Yeah,
Like
they're making money off the payment.
they're only charged 1.5% by the credit card company or electronic fund transfer company. So they're actually making 2% off of that. So like, this is a fucking cash cow.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
there's a lot of states.
It's quite a racket, isn't it? It's quite a racket. I gotta figure out.
Covered to begin with. Like, this is true trafficking. And
You're paying like points on top of points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I was going to let you go ahead and go with your point as well. But I wanted to say also pay attention to some of these states and some of these counties. A lot of them will make you pay every single year. They'll make you pay $73 to $93 just to keep your records on file.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to welcome back in as we see Neely, and I get out before I say this even in notes because people that comment privately about the show, and there was a lot of positive comments to Neely. And every time I even see Neely, and Jay can tell you this, I'm a big Boston Bruins fan, and the best first power forward ever was number 8, Cam Neely, one of my favorite Boston Bruins of all time. So when I see Neely right away, I think power, and I say it all the time. We've got Neely. So we knew it was a perfect fit. Neely, welcome back.
Thank you.
And I understand if you have any comments, I know they were rolling in. Feel free to read one or two. If not, if you had a point that you wanted to go off of what we were saying, feel free. We'd love to hear you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wasn't really watching this because I was really, really involved, listening and, Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was great. It was great tonight. And, parental alienation is so important. I tell you, out of all the groups that people ask me or join me into, I can't tell you how many of them are parental alienation. So I went ahead and shared them into those groups tonight. So hopefully that some more people might even be joining on right now. Because and it's for these people, if there's new people joining on, go back and watch because there's some recent events coming on, and come to these events.
Yes, definitely.
Again, I cannot rest. I'm thinking about going, and I, just kind of found out a little bit more about it. So I'm thinking about joining the one in Pennsylvania. My dad's side of the family is from Pittsburgh, right outside of Pittsburgh. So I've got some ties with Pennsylvania anyway, and my aunt and uncle live in Erie. So,
everything happens for a reason. Hey, Jay, that we have people that don't know, we have Neely she's more than multitasking. So that wasn't a test putting her on the spot, but it wasn't a test, but you passed it, Neely. It wasn't a test, but you did a great job with coming into it. So awesome job. Jay, and as Neely said too, and Jesse, there's so many things happening with the weather getting warmer. And again, people lifting their shades up and opening their eyes up too after the long winter. And as you said, Jay, there's been so much forward progress, and it's positive. It's great to see because again, it's snowballing, and we've talked about it with Pete. We've all talked about it. And we've seen it, especially over the course, I'd say, Jay, of the last year, especially seeing people actually coming together out of necessity too. Because again, you're either going to come together or get destroyed.
Right.
It's you don't really, it's either we're going to have to, again, in the end, it doesn't matter how many times we've said it, Jay, in the end, we're going to be, and Jess, we're going to be high-fiving at the finish line with people that you don't even necessarily agree with. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's, again, the common goal. It doesn't matter. We're all a bunch of weirdos.
That's
Embrace each other's weirdness and go with it and love each other and high-five at the finish line. That's what it's about.
That's right. Embrace the fact. Embrace the fact that we're all just a little bit far from normal.
Far from normal. I knew that was coming. Way to bring it in there, Jay.
We'd have to go through what we've gone through. So.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Good guy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You've got to have some levity in this.
Exactly. And I love the aspect of having Neely on the show as well, because I know that Neely goes and she travels a lot. So we're going to be having Neely Whether she knows it or not, she's going to know
I was
it.
gonna say, yeah, she just, she's like, I like that. She's trying to stay composed.
Yeah.
It's, oh, okay.
Neely will definitely be going to a lot of these events representing us, and when we have some live events or recorded video, we'll definitely be getting those from Neely.
And as a matter of fact, Neely is flying out tomorrow to. No, just kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to try and get as much coverage out there this year as we possibly can get, because we feel that you all in the movement, this is your show, this is your movement, and we just get blessed to be the hosts. Well, this is your movement, this is what you're doing, this is your voice, and we want to express your voice out here, even on our show. We want to be able to show, and then let me let you in on a little top secret information.
Here he goes again, Jeff, with the top secret information.
Little top secret information that I'm going to let you guys in on. There are several famous people that are listening into the Far From Normal radio show, and they are looking at us, and they want to know that we are stable individuals that are just fighting for the love of our kids, and they're seeing it through this show. They're seeing it through your voice.
Well, that word "stable" is subjective, Jay, so be careful. But no, yeah, Jay definitely, and there's been a lot of connections made over the course of the past year and a half, and again, I know it's affected some people in a positive way, and to the people out there, as we say all the time, too, the people that are down and out there, down on one knee, man, it's not over yet, and we thank you. I'll speak for Jay and Jesse and Neely and Pete and say thank you to the people that have shared our show. Last week we hit about 3,500, and it's awesome to see because it's empowering people and it's getting really consistent. And I wanted to thank people for sharing the show and sharing the posts and sharing the page and for the support. And again, it's very much reciprocated. We support you too, and we love seeing the feedback. And if we don't get back to, again, what I wanted to say earlier is some people, Jay put a post up and Jesse hadn't seen it. Some people might find it hard to believe we don't always see each other's posts, but Jesse's very busy, and so is Jay too. Yeah. So my point to that is we don't always see each other's stuff, so never feel ignored.
No.
And again, even if it's 2 a.m, reach out. Someone's going to be there, and I know Neely worked tirelessly as well from what I've seen already, and Pete does as well. So again, thanks to everybody out there. You're going to get there.
Yeah, and by the way, we've got a little bit of congratulations for Mr. Bud Vino. I know that, Bud, you have worked on Parents United Worldwide for a year and a half, and we're already at 5,000.
I didn't totally know at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's really great. And this hasn't even been close to just me. I'm just the one that that started the page, but I've had so much help with you, Jay, and Jesse, and not just us, but people every day that share tons of stuff a day and interact in there completely irrespective of us. And so it's really awesome. So the people out there, come get empowered. There's over 5,000 people in the group now, and there's quite a blend of personalities in there, but we keep it positive. We don't, you never see, and I think I can speak for you guys too. There's not a lot of negative. We don't allow it, but we don't. It's really it's a respect thing. People don't generally do it in there. But again, it is about empowerment. It's about education. So again, Jay, thanks for mentioning that. So thank you to everybody out there, over 5,000. And again, that's your group too, man. Parents United Worldwide. That's what it very much is, the name.
Yep, absolutely. And I've done a 50-50 custody page as well that I haven't really paid much attention to. It's almost organically grown.
It has
up to like 700 or so, and now it's over 1,000. The Far From Normal radio show is almost. I mean, I think we're 2 or 3 away or so from hitting 1.1K. Awesome stuff close out there.
Yeah, that's great.
If you have not visited the show's website, the Far From Normal radio show on Facebook, please do. You'll have all of our past experiences in going on a show, even back to our radio day.
Yeah. Well, I have to say too, Jay, thank you for mentioning that, because we've discussed too Jesse's first few shows and this and that. Well, I had downloaded a lot of different shows, and I'm pretty sure I have to go through, but I think I found Jesse's first ever show. So I will be putting that somewhere on the Far From Normal page, so you can see the progression, and you can see when we first had. The only show we got to find, Jay, is where she was a guest.
Yeah.
You can probably hear us tripping over ourselves trying to dial the phone.
I think it was the week after I was a guest. I joined.
Well, no, it was. It definitely was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was. Jay and I were speaking as we talked about that night. That was, yeah. So it was. Yeah. But it's fun to see the progression. You see somebody like Jessie who really has just come into her own, and not just on the show, but within the movement. Again, just from her own tireless work and her own. People know Jessie Warner because of what Jessie Warner's done. So, and that's awesome. That's awesome. So we're honored. I will put that up at some point, and I will put up our very first show. That might be that Jay and I did together, show number 1. And boy, that might be fun though.
That's
I don't know about
show.
Way back on our
That was back when we didn't know exactly what we were doing at all.
We actually had 2 tin cans and some string, and Jay and I were yelling as loud as we could. No, we really didn't.
I had a megaphone and we were
right.
Guy, yeah, that was good.
That was awesome. 2 guys that just said, "Hey," Jay said, "Hey man, let's just do this." I said, "Let's just do it," and we went on, man, and it's been amazing ever since. Amazing. The guests we've had, the people that we've had, and the growth and what we've seen in the movement. I truly, I say every day.
Yeah,
exactly. We're truly blessed, and I'm truly blessed to be doing this with you guys. Right. And to everybody out there, thank you.
So now we've got Pete on hiatus, but he will be back. I have talked to him, and he's doing amazing.
Yes.
He's going to be way back here very, very shortly. When he does, we're going to have Neely doing reports for us. Probably some of us doing live reports. I'm just going to mention that. DC. Oops. Did I let that one out? All right.
He said he wasn't going to say that. We knew he couldn't help himself.
Yeah. So that's coming, folks. So you might get pulled in for an interview to be on the Far From Home radio show while we're on location. So be out for that.
Yeah, Jay, and thanks for mentioning Pete. I spoke with Pete, I think 2 days ago for about an hour, and he's doing great. So people out there wondering that haven't heard much. Pete's being very smart, and he's a strong man. Just like most of the men and women out there, the parents fighting for equal rights. So, again, he's an awesome guy. I know, Jay, I know you know, too, it's been massively difficult for Pete because Pete had been on a few shows and he had just been getting warmed up and getting really comfortable. So this is very hard for him. So, again, this is teaching Pete that wonderful word, patience. Patience.
Yep.
Patience, my boy, because when he comes back, it's going to be bigger and better, and he's going to have that awesome finishing story that's going to help a lot of people.
Right. And this is going to give us such diversity, I believe, within the group, and I think that's another reason why we brought Neely on board, because we knew that she was in a lot of these different groups and very active already, and she's going to do some amazing work. It's only going to grow from here. We're very, very pleased. And when we were talking about our shows of the past, we've redone our ending video. So please pay attention to that. It's what we call, unfortunately, we don't have a wall of our Hall of Fame for the Far From Normal radio show. We call it our Wall of Flames, because obviously these people are red hot and they're coming to you. They're doing amazing stuff. So
and Jay,
you do that, definitely pay attention to that video.
Yeah, I want to say too, we're going to have, I know of at least one person, I won't name any names, but we're going to have some people that assist me with marketing and things like that. So we have a lot of people that are coming on behind the scenes in the future, I know, that we're excited about that are going to be doing it. With the on air is all set, but the different things and with the show growing the way it is and where we want to get it, we're going to have some great people.
Yes.
And so we're excited about that.
I'm looking at some comments now that I'm actually.
I'll let you go.
Oh boy, sure.
I'm looking at some comments, and it looks like David. There's David Allen. It looks like he might be new, and it's he's heard, he wants to connect. David, just where you asked, where do you start? You start with connecting with one of us, and we will get you to the right people. And come to these events, make it to these events, because again, I cannot stress about how important. I've been on this journey for a long time, this fight for a long time with my children. And that's why I am where I am now and have the voice that I do have now. But it's so important to connect, because then everybody can come up with ideas. You might have an idea that we don't. You might know somebody that we don't, but it looks like you're in North Carolina, and I saw Randy jumped on. Randy, so connect.
Love Randy Davis. Love Randy.
Yeah, we love Rev it up.
Love him, and connect with Randy Davis. He's in North Carolina, and he can get you started too. I know Lydia actually is watching now, and Lydia is having the event in Nashville. So if anybody's in Nashville, Tennessee, or in the Tennessee area, surrounding area, connect with her. We have a great group of people. John Gentry has a house. It will sleep up to 15 people. So if you don't have a place to stay,
Jay,
Nashville, we have hotel rooms booked already for people that don't have a place to stay. We're a family. We're it's more than just that, but it's so important not only to help you know that you're not the only one going through this. You can have fellowship with each other, but we can go in and kick some butt in court and talk, go in and have these meetings with representatives and, senators, because we have a voice. And
thank you, Neely.
Absolutely. I would
definitely. You're not alone. You're not alone.
You're not alone. And I would also say, a lot of our advocates out here, and I'm going to explain this very, very quickly, because a lot of our advocates out here cannot, and I explained this last week, we can give you or tell you certain things. We can tell you, hey, look, study your state constitution, study your federal constitution, study your state laws, study your statutes, study this, study your rules of civil procedure. We can lead a horse to water, but we can't make it drink. You've got to put in the work. And unfortunately, no one out here is going to be able to fight the fight that you fight, and no one will be able to fight the fight that you will fight for your kids. No one's going to fight that hard. You will. And you've got to put that initiative forward. Yeah, absolutely. So awesome stuff so far. Any other comments, Neely, that you want to point out?
Hold on one second. I stopped looking at it for a second. So
no, that's Jay. I'll say, go ahead, Neely. Go ahead and do what you're doing here. Again, Jay, awesome show, and I love to have these voices that we have on, Jesse and also Neely too. And when we have Pete back too, it's just gonna everything happens for a reason, and it's coming together perfectly. So again, thank you to everybody. Go ahead, Neely.
There is Dawn Miller, and she is saying she would love to come. Dawn, just, reach out to me. Let me know where you are. If we can get some of these people maybe carpooling. I know a lot of people that are coming. So I can connect you with them, and we can see if, they have space. And we will get anyone there. And that was what I was going to say too, because a lot of people might say, oh, well, I don't have the money, because traveling is expensive, or whether something costs money, we're all helping each other. So don't feel like, oh, I don't have, because I truly know the family courts do that, where you don't have money to fight. You don't have money to pick yourself back up. That's right. Just know that, we're all here for you.
Exactly. Absolutely. All right, so we're going to get into our lowly last part.
The depressing part of the show, the last 10 minutes.
And Neely hasn't done this before, so this is going to be a new experience for Neely. So we're going to go to Mr. Bud Vino for shout-outs.
Well, yo, April 17, 2018, another great show. Thank you to Laurie Nicholson for coming on, too. Awesome show, enlightening, educational, empowering. Wonderful. As always, thank you to my man, Jay Money Moss. Wonderful as usual. To Jesse Weiner out in Florida. Love you, sis. Again, awesome. It is always a pleasure with Jesse. To Neely, our new sister, getting better. Again, I was going to say like a fine wine. It's only the second show, but you just keep getting better and better. To Pete McNeil, you're coming back soon, brother. We're here for you. everybody out there, again, I got to give a shout out to Rick's Barber Shop. I went up there today, gave me a great cut. Sean gave me a great cut up there, met the owner, Rick, and the boys up there at Rick's Barber Shop. I knew, guys, I was in the right place when I walked in. There was a Jason mask hanging off one of the mirrors when I walked in. I said, "This is
scary."
well, no, not for me. I was right at home. I just sat down wherever I could find a seat. I knew I was at home. So awesome. I loved it up there. Good to meet the guys up there. Awesome business. Very professional and awesome job they did. To my brother from BBC, Sean McAndrew, everybody out there, John Mondu, Aaron Roberts, the Roberts boys, Jeremy Roberts reached out to me too this week. All my brothers and sisters from the BBC, love you guys. My brother Shane Jubert, who I spoke to today, Brian Peasley, who I speak to daily, Kevin Moran, Kathy and the kiddos, love you guys, and our guests, as I mentioned. And as always, my wife, Allison, I love you, baby. And to my littlest, bestest buddy, Mason, love you, pal. And to my biggest, bestest brother, see you tomorrow, best buddy. I'll see you tomorrow night. I love you guys. Keep your chins up. It's not over till you say it's over. Oh, and I guess
when he gets
they like to snap me right at the end, right where it's smart.
Always. So we want to go ahead and get on over to Jesse Weiner now. Jesse.
So thank you to all our guests and hosts and, to Bud and Jay for even bringing me on the show and I guess opening up something I never even thought about. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I'm going through a lot of transition in my career and in this movement and lots of different things in the works, lots of different things. And I couldn't, without you guys, it's great.
Awesome.
To all the parents out there fighting, keep fighting. Don't give up. We're here. We're available. We are busy, but we will get to you. Message, call. It doesn't matter. My phone number is all over the place. Keep fighting, and that's it. To the judge.
All right, she gets it. The parrot.
He hit her with the parrot.
Hit her with the parrot. Awesome. All right, so Neely.
I need a yo 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 to get a parrot.
Yeah.
Polly, want a cracker?
The whip and the parrot. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so Neely, shout outs.
Shout outs. I want to shout out to Mackenzie, my oldest daughter. You are why I'm fighting, baby girl, and you hold your head up high and everything is going to be okay because mommy will never quit. And my youngest two, Isabella and Adriana, they were a little upset mommy couldn't come today to my grandma's where they're at, but I told them I had a show and I would see them tomorrow and it was going to be every Tuesday.
Blame Pete.
I'm glad I'm getting to see them now. And shout out to Chris Hallett. He is my lawyer. Love him to death. I don't even know what I would do without him right now. I do believe, shout out to God, first of all, because I wouldn't have Chris if there was not something higher working here. And my story, I need to write a book is what I need to do. Cause I just have way too much information in my little head.
We're waiting for it.
But, anyways, when the time is right, it will happen. If not, it won't happen. So, and shout out to Kirk's Law Corner, Kirk, John, and shout out to the parents. Shout out to every parent that is fighting and is in this movement and is doing something to fight for their children and their children's voice. Shout out to any good lawyer that is wanting to help. Shout out to any good doctors, anybody up higher that sees that there is an issue and that's actually joining this fight with the parents and not in for just the money. And shout out, thank you guys. I appreciate you allowing me to be on the show. And I'm glad to make these new relationships and hope to see you soon, or maybe we'll all be at an event. So
there you go.
Definitely. Oh,
where's she at?
Oh,
yes.
The horse since she's in Kentucky. Yes, go ahead.
So I think Neely, what you said is, shout out to the lawyers who, it takes a strong, ethical, sound attorney to stand up to the system, to stand up to the corruption, to not be afraid to, voice what's right and what's just. And those are the lawyers that we want. Those are the lawyers that I want to refer to, that I want to be able to know that my judgment in them is sound. Those are the people that we want. The ones that are not afraid. The ones that aren't gonna, pussyfoot it in the corner. The ones that are gonna stand up for what's constitutionally right, what's right according to the law.
That's right. That's
good point by both of you ladies. Shout out to the non-corrupt, the rarities out there with backbone.
Those lawyers and attorneys that are far from normal. We love you. Awesome. All right, so guys, awesome show. Awesome show tonight. Wendy Perry, Laurie Nicholson, awesome guests. We love them. Amazing stuff that they presented in our first hour about parental alienation. Can't say enough about them. Their dedication to it. Big shout out to Dr. Childress as well out there for being associated with those ladies and getting the information out there as well to everyone. Definitely want to give a big shout out to my FFN fam, as we call it, FFN fam, and the FFN Asylum, our great fans out here of the show. We love you so much. We appreciate you. Our board of directors, they're doing a wonderful job behind the scenes, and we'll be talking to right after this show to make sure that we said the appropriate things. And we got the appropriate information out there.
And if we didn't, I plead the fifth.
Yeah, I believe that. Awesome stuff, and I'm just so pleased. There's going to be exciting stuff coming to you very, very soon, very, very shortly. Can't name it all yet. Obviously, we have to have it named or buckled down in stone, but I can tell you one thing before we go, and I can tell you that on May the 15th, we will have comedian Claudia Stovall on. So she will be on the program. Big time comedian will be on the program. So it is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff is happening. We're going to get all kinds of different stuff and responses from that, I'm sure. Because she's no hard and off the cuff.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that one, definitely.
It will. So definitely want to say, as we say always in signing off for the Far From Normal Radio Show, you are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. God bless.
Chins up. Yeah.
Good night. Good night.
Night, guys.